Hi guys, Rob from Athletic Evolution here. So just wanted to carry on the discussion around youth physical development and what best practice looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do is delve into a bit of myth busting. So this is going to be a two-part on does lifting weights stunt your growth? So there seems to be, and has always been actually, a bit of an urban myth around lifting weights and stunting of growth. And there's a lot of confusion around what that actually means or how that's come about. So firstly, you have growth plates in various bones throughout your body. Yeah, they're called physis. And what happens is if you cause trauma to one of those growth plates, you can hamper its development. So you can limit its final kind of growth if you like. Now, there's a bit of confusion around localized stunting of growth. So stunting of growth, say for example, a growth plate in my hand, if I was to break that, versus limiting my final adult stature. Now clearly, if I injure a growth plate in my wrist, that's not going to stop me becoming 6'5". So there's a bit of confusion around growth plate injuries and what we're actually talking about. So there's a localized element and there's also your final adult height stature. Those are two separate things. Now, how do we injure growth plates? Well, if you do some reading up on the research, it usually requires some pretty dramatic trauma to the growth plate of the bone. So we are particularly susceptible to growth plate injuries during periods of rapid growth, so during peak height velocity, for example. 15% of all fractures in childhood are to the physis, so to growth plates. The most popular causes of these are usually falling out of things or falling off things. So falling off a bike, a skateboard, out of a tree. Some of the American studies, sport-wise, will bring hockey, in terms of ice hockey, American football, baseball. So things that are causing collision forces. So my body impacting yours at speed, causing issues. Again, there's a big element there that is slightly different. So we might be concerned about growth plate injuries in the gym, but for some reason we're not concerned about them on the pitch. And this is crazy because actually there's far more chaos happening on the pitch than there is in the gym. So in a situation like rugby or American football, which have a high injury rate of growth plates, there's a lot of risk factors we can't control. So I can't control the speed of my opponents who are running towards me. I can't control the weight of my opponents. And I can't control what direction they're coming from. So there's three elements there, and that's basically what's causing it. It's physics. It's just collision forces, it's force, it's mass, it's acceleration, it's causing trauma through a collision. Now in the gym, I can control the load an athlete lifts. I can control the speed the athlete lifts it at. I can also control the environment to ensure other people aren't impacting them when they shouldn't be. So actually, your athlete's far safer in the gym than they are on the pitch. And actually there's very, very few, if any, studies that suggest you can cause growth plate injuries in the gym from a high acute element. Now we can do it through repetitive stress, just like any sport. If we're doing a poor training load, if we're not monitoring that properly, then you can cause injuries through repetitive stress. But it's very unlikely to be in a gym scenario. So a lot of the bad press that gym has got is usually when people are left unsupervised, which is insanity. I would never leave a group of adolescent teenagers unsupervised at a gym for an hour and expect them to come back fully healthy and fully fit. That's just stupid. And so if you look at a lot of the studies that report injuries, it's when people are unsupervised. So if you look through some of the position statements I'll link to, the NSCA, the ASCA, the UKSCA, BASES, the American Academy of Paediatrics have actually endorsed resistance training for youth athletes and children. And their three key components to that are: there needs to be an appropriate training plan in place, an appropriately trained coach, and appropriate supervision. If those three things are in place, then resistance training is absolutely safe and condoned for youth athletes.